Players came back from the rest day into round 4 fully refreshed and ready for battle. What an incredible round round 4 was. Only one game was fairly quickly drawn. That was Shahriar Mamedyarov against Wesley So, but the others were just extraordinary struggles. I've picked the game between Vladimir Kramnik and Fabiano Caruana to look at in some detail. So it's a Petrov. Well, a few surprises. One, that Kramnik is playing e4. Well, of course, he has played this in his career, but he's coming back to it. That's pretty extraordinary. Fabiano Caruana played the Petrov in the Tata Steel tournament, and I thought that was like a second string opening that he was playing. He didn't want to give anything away, but now he's playing it in the candidates. And the line that Kramnik played against the Petrov here, well, you force the queens off, and in the past this is really played mainly by strong players as a way of just kind of halving out quickly. You know, there's a game of Spassky's, for example, against Stein. You play bishop g5, you draw very quickly. But Kramnik is just playing. He's just playing. Doesn't matter what opening you play, it's all about the attitude with which you play and the energy you put in. And both these players today were playing with energy and attitude. So, I mean, this position, just from a theoretical point of view, it's equal. However, in practical terms, it's a little bit easier for white to play just because of this pawn here. You'll notice with the pawn on c3, there's a semi-open file, and this diagonal is open for the bishop. Black has the pawn on d6, which shuts in this bishop. And also sometimes you can use this c-pawn as a break with c5. So basically white just has a little bit more freedom. Rook he1 played by Kramnik and bishop f6. But at the moment, of course, it's nothing to write home about. And I suppose, you know, from a very correct point of view, knight d4 would be a good move, and then the pieces just get traded. But now Kramnik starts to improvise. So in removing the knight from f3, he wants to put his bishop on this long diagonal. Fair enough, but that gets hit. Now, you certainly don't want to give up your bishop for that knight. So bishop f4. Now there's a pin. So king f8 solves that problem. And bishop d5. So Kramnik is trying to find something in this position. It's a little idea he's thought of. Of course, black chases away the bishop, and the bishop switches diagonal. I don't think the bishop is particularly well placed on this square. But the point is, he's forced a little weakness, having got black to play c6, and now he's got something to play for. If black plays d5, of course, white will break open the position in some way with c4. So bishop f5, now that obviously prevents the knight coming in here. And h3 gives the bishop somewhere to retreat to. And now Fabiano seizes his chance to take the initiative, because now that that bishop is no longer on the king's side, this advance makes sense. Now c4 played. I think probably f4 is sensible, and I think the position's about equal. But c4 is much more ambitious, preventing black from playing d5. So that's fair enough. But I mean, with the pawn on c4, the bishop, of course, is blocked in. And now Fabiano starts on the king's side. I mean, this is an excellent move. I mean, it looks slightly funny at first, but what it does is, if this is exchanged off, then suddenly black's bishop comes into the game. And this pin is very annoying. And generally, the king has problems here. it can't easily get off the back rank. That bishop blocks the b pawn, and there are potentially problems, well, with the pin and maybe on the back rank as well. So after g4, again, Kramnik played very creatively. He played knight e4. Caruana exchanged this off. Bishop g5 check. Now he took on h3. Of course, white would like to take back. But then comes this, and knight f3, and suddenly black has a tremendous initiative. You can see both those are attacked, so we have to take here. And knight d2 check. And now we take on f2. The king is terribly placed. Really badly placed in the corner. And that f-pawn could be a runner. Those bishops don't look good. Sidelined. So after this capture on h3, now Kramnik really starts to go for it. He's really improvising. c5 undermining the knight on e5. However, after this move, it's problematic. The rook switches. Caruana takes here. And this is unbelievable. Kramnik breaks through to the 7th rank and takes here, but of course this pawn is not to be underestimated. At first, I mean, Kramnik said after the game that at first he wanted to play bishop g1. I mean, sometimes he can be so optimistic, but then he realised that rook e2 is just good for black, and black threatens to take and play rook takes f2. So he played bishop a4, and he wasn't too unhappy with this position. At this point, Caruana was starting to run short of time, and it's a very tricky position. He took the bishop. Bishop takes c6, so that's got this pawn in its sights and looks all over the place. And rook d8. Now, I don't know whether Kramnik overlooked this move, but this is just very strong. So if bishop takes rook, then rook takes d6. Obviously, that can't be taken because of black makes a queen. So after this move, black is basically a piece up. d7 played and rook e2. And at this point, I thought Caruana was just completely winning. He's got an extra piece, that knight, and that knight is spinning back into the centre. He's got 2 pawns potentially he can push, and this d pawn, yes, it's on the 7th rank, but that square is well covered by rook and bishop. Surely this must be winning. Well, I think it is. But short of time, this is not simple. Caruana here played h6. Looks sensible, covering the bishop, and then he can bring his king into the game. But rook takes c2. I mean, maybe this needs more time to calculate it, of course. This is a good move. So hitting that bishop, and when the bishop moves, just come back with the rook. But, oh, I mean, if rook takes bishop, then that leads to mate. The point is that black has broken through to the 7th rank, so that moves like bishop f6 or potentially knight c4 are going to be incredibly dangerous. And black must be winning that position. h6 played instead also looks good because, I mean, it feels right to bring the king up the board. Bring the king over to cover the d pawn. But suddenly, I mean, this a pawn, I mean, it's starting from its starting square, is incredibly dangerous. And Kramnik is already playing for a win at this point. A bishop b5 would have, covering this pawn, would have led to a draw. Excuse me, bishop b5 does cover, but if he'd pushed straight away, this would have led to a draw after this. Getting my variations mixed up. Easy to do in this position, I can tell you. So yes, he played for a win. Instead of pushing straight away, he played for a win with bishop b5, making sure that the c pawn is covered. And only then pushed on. The rook came back. Caruana wants to come here. c3 stops that. And now knight d5 is the correct move. You know, you can feed this position into a computer and it'll spill out lots of variations. But king d6 was a mistake. I mean, one thing that Kramnik could have done here was just check on c6. And if king takes, then there's a discover check, of course. And then we can take here. Now there's no back rank problem, the king is safe. Or if king e7, we push and you take the knight, and that must be winning for white. But you see, there are so many tactics here. It's all in the detail. But instead Kramnik played rook b7. And a rook g4. And now the f pawn starts. And now the a pawn is running. So obviously white wants to play here and rook b8. So h5 played by Caruana. He should have played f3. I mean, let me show you one possible variation. So the f pawn is going as far as possible, but it's still covered here. And this is a very computery variation, of course. At the moment, white is a rook down, but he wants to make a queen. Rook g2, that's a mad move. Watch this, and this is crazy. And, well, basically white is still playing for a win here. But f3 was certainly better than the game continuation. h5. And here, Kramnik played b4. He just assumed he was winning. But you know, they've already been playing for a very long time, and I think the strain of calculating these incredibly complex variations where there are so many weird tactics was obviously starting to tell. b4 played in the game. c4 looks like it's winning. According to the computer, this is winning. So for example, f3. We make a queen. Take that one. I mean, there are some unbelievable tactics here. I mean, this is a really nice variation, I have to say. So black makes a queen, and now here's the killer move: c5 check. That gets taken, and the rook drops. Even this, white only wins by what seems like a miracle. Is black going to take that pawn? No. b4 check. That's a nice move. So king takes, you take the bishop. And if king here, then we have bishop g2 check, and the king has to move away from this guy. I mean, calculating these variations when you're tired is so difficult. In fact, Fabiano said after the game that his intention was to play king c5. And try to stir up trouble in this position. You know, maybe the king can join in here. I mean, it's possible that Kramnik sort of looked at this position and thought, yeah, maybe this is trouble. You know, there could be trouble with the king coming in, but, well, white is winning this. In any case, in the game, b4 was played by Kramnik. This is still, I mean, the complications just continue. I think one of the problems for Kramnik here was that there are so many possible winning lines that he just got confused. Another idea is to make a queen. Then do this. So you just want to take here and move the bishop away. And after this, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe he got this far and thought, this isn't quite as clear as I'd like. And I can understand that. White is obviously better here. But black's pieces are very good, and those pawns still represent a threat. It's tricky, you know, with the king on the back rank as well. Anyway, c4 played. And now things are not at all clear. If c6, I mean, we get a mad position, c6 and h2. You know, something like this happens. This is incredible. It looks like a study. And basically black is all right here because he's going to queen with check. He's going to get a check in. You know, even if white does something like this, you know, you can give a check. And I mean, I haven't had a chance to look at this in huge detail, but I think black is going to be okay here because yeah, the king is just about all right, basically. You know, you can block at a certain moment with the knight. Anyway, after king e5, rook b8. And yeah, Kramnik thought he was just winning this position, but it's not clear. So of course he wants to take and make a queen, but that moves out the way. If rook takes rook, then king f5, threatening a mate. Nasty. So Kramnik made a queen, and then he took here. So white is the exchange up, but basically black has enough activity here to make a draw. And here, if black wants a draw, then king e6 is a good move, threatening rook a1 mate. And then, well, for example, check. This is going to lead to a draw. But Fabiano said afterwards that he had the feeling that it was worth playing on because Kramnik by this stage was running short of time. So he's getting through to the king. In fact, white is still absolutely fine here. And Kramnik said he still felt as though he was playing for a win. But short of time, with the black pieces just swirling around, this is just too difficult to control, basically. The position should be a draw. But instead of keeping checking, Fabiano started to complicate matters really, really well. So knight b3. Got to watch out for these checks. But watch out for the rook as well. So rook e1 and king d5. Check and king d5. King c2. So be careful. That's on prise, that's on prise. So we give a check. Now king c1 apparently is a decent move. Should be equal. But king b1 and now knight f3, and it suddenly got nasty. And Kramnik was down to his final few seconds. They get 30 seconds each time they make a move, but still, Kramnik was right down to the wire here. And he blundered. By this stage, he should take here. And in this position, well, black is still, of course, a bit better with that extra pawn, but it should be a draw. If rook f1, that can be taken. The rook goes. But after knight f3, Kramnik played rook d1. And that's an absolute disaster. 2 moves to go before the time control. Now he makes the time control. And after this, he reached the time control and he just slumped on the table with his head resting on his arms and just crushed. He's just composing himself basically because he knew at this stage he was lost. If king takes, then the pawn pushes, and rook here, well, I think both the blocks are winning, and the pawn rolls through. So, well, Kramnik tried the last few moves, Bishop a6. Just got to watch out for this check on b7, but no, check. Another check, and just take the pawn. And now black is a knight and 2 pawns up, and this is, of course, completely winning. And now the pawn rolls through. And in this position, Kramnik resigned. Well, extraordinary game. You know, from start to finish, just a completely unstable position. At least after about move 20, a completely unstable position. So after 4 rounds, we have Fabiano Caruana in the lead with 3. Then Kramnik and Mamedyarov on 2.5. Ding, Aronian and Grishuk on 2. Aronian came back into the picture because he defeated Karyakin today. Thanks for watching.